it's a murder mystery, so people like seeing a night show. I believe. So those shows were not uh, were not allotted to me for some reason. In 4 or 5 weeks, in a few weeks, films come onto OTT. The question here is, films don't run more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks. It cannot support a 500 rupee ticket. The correct ticket pricing for my film is 50 rupees and is doing extremely well, say in Patna. Those cinemas are more tough to get if there's a Shah Rukh Khan film. Now, he corners a Salman Khan film. So, first thing they will do is take the single screen audience. So, Shah Rukh Khan called me, but I could see the worry that the song is very important. That I could guess. I'm a difficult guy. Okay. The critics kind of sometimes made a mockery of Bollywood film. Internationally, the world, when they viewed Bollywood films on television or whatever in cinema, loved the color and the glamour of Bollywood. 80s was where the real flavor of Bollywood was the 80s. That's the time when cinema was at its peak, according to me, where we had a story, we had songs, we had everything integrated into the film. Look at Tabu. She continued. Pausing your career is harmful for a girl. Men generally don't pause their career. So they continue. If I was active in making film and somebody said, would you make with an AI actor? Of course I would. Why would I not?
How healthy it is for a film when its lead cast members are in a relationship.
That is another area of worry. It was not in my control. The unit will also be whispering something or the other. Big producers always have power. If you go to the actor, the first question he'll put to you, who's the producer? They won't even ask you who's the director or who's the writer.
Rajiv Rai, welcome to CNN News 18.
Hi, how are you?
Good sir, how are you? Sir, your comeback film Zora
Yeah,
was released directly on YouTube
yeah,
and managed to garner over 1.5 million views in just 3 days.
right.
Was many congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Even though the film underperformed at the box office, how
Right,
does it feel to see such a strong response from the audience online?
right. Yeah, it's got a very strong response, in my opinion. I bypassed the OTT, of course. I think cinema was just a farce. It actually released, but didn't release. In reality, you can't call that a release. It was a very spaced uh, release, like a very scattered, and I could not cover all the states. I could not cover all the cities. I could probably cover 20%. And that 20% that I managed to cover, I didn't get very good show timings, morning shows and afternoon shows. It's a murder mystery, so people like seeing a night show, I believe. So those shows were not uh, were not allotted to me for some reason. And it was a difficult time to release. There were a lot of films. What I remember, 8th of August, there were maybe 8 films. A lot of them piled up from July back, came piled down to 8th. And on the 14th was, uh, I think, War 2. And there was a Rajinikanth very, very big film. And that film was clashing with War 2. War 2 was obviously one of the biggest releases of this year. So all the cinemas were being allotted there, were being preferred by exhibitors to give it to that film. So we only had 5 or 6 days to release, to do whatever we could. And in that, I didn't get good show timings. It's okay. I'm not blaming anybody, but it was not a very exciting or a good experience for me, though I'm a distributor myself. So I did anticipate this. I won't lie. I won't say I did not. I was a bit worried before the release that this is a small star cast. I won't get a preference. Even I had not advertised it. People were not aware about the film. So how will they come into the cinema? But I just wanted a release, as they say, naam ke liye, ek release kar lo. So I
Man,
did a release, I did a theatrical release. Now, in retrospective, when I think, I shouldn't have done that. There was a mistake on my part. I will not blame anybody. It was my decision. And I would have been better off if I hadn't, because then you sign a contract with PVR that or with multiplexes, that you cannot release your film for 8 weeks henceforth. of your date of release. You can release it after 6 weeks if there is a price tag or a rent to your film, but I didn't want to rent out my film. So I had to wait 8 weeks. And after waiting 8 weeks, I actually had to get a date. I wanted to get a interesting spiritual date, and that was Diwali. So that bothered me a lot. And that actually was not, that is what went wrong. I think that contract, I feel they should reconsider it. I don't know why they keep this contract. It was a pandemic contract.
No, because maybe because a lot of films, audience had this impression that oh, this film after say 4 and 5 weeks will come on OTT. So that was, I think, impacting the theatrical business.
Yeah, but look, let me tell you something. In 4 or 5 weeks, in a few weeks, films come onto OTT. Okay. The question here is films don't run more than 2 weeks or 3 weeks. And even if you see a film running for 4 weeks, it's just one show somewhere, in one city. So generally, films aren't doing well, 90%, and or maybe even 95%. So those films hardly manage 2 weeks, but you got an 8 week contract. Look, I'm not against the contract. Sign the contract with all due respect to the multiplexes. They need to defend their cinema rights and their business. I don't disagree with that. If you've signed the contract and you are not running the film, you've taken it off everywhere, then why don't you let the contract go so that the producer can put it on OTT or YouTube? How does that affect the cinema business? How? It doesn't affect the cinema business anymore. So they gotta let it go. So they are thinking, okay, let films not come on OTT. Okay, what is that? I mean, so they are saying if more films come on OTT, more films, they won't get a cinema run. Say my film doesn't work in the cinema, but I have a potential for it on the OTT. I tried cinema. I have paid the money there. I've incurred a cost to distribute it, and there could be a cost of anything above 60 lakhs. It could be 1 crore, or it could be 5 crores, it could be 10 crores. So I've incurred a publicity cost. Now the film hasn't worked. Now you're stuck with the contract, whereas the film is now not in the cinema, but you're sitting on that contract. They will not let go of the contract. They don't want to talk about it. So I didn't talk about it. I didn't want to get into a tussle on this. So I said, once a contract is signed, respect it. It's signed. Now, if I made a mistake signing it, it's my fault.
So
They,
what do you see? So what approach are you planning for the sequel of the film?
yeah, I am
Sequel.
planning a straight YouTube.
Okay.
Day one.
The money more? Do you think?
No, there's not much money on YouTube. I want people to see the film. I have not spent that much money on the film. So I don't want to sit here counting my bucks, or thinking, oh, I'm going to make millions. I never made this film to make millions. It's got no star cast. I shot it under 2 crores. I've announced it to 50 channels. Now I'm saying I want to make $1 million. That's not fair on the audience. This is not a theatrical film because it cannot support a 500 rupee ticket. A 500 rupee ticket is a wrong ticket pricing for my film, or a 400. The correct ticket pricing for my film is 50 rupees. And I didn't even put that pricing on YouTube, whereas I could have worked around it. And people have done that. I actually felt it's more important for people to view a film. When you make a film, it's not always money in your head. I mean, I've been in the business 50 years. Of course, you want to make money. I'm not saying no. But when you make a small film, it's the exposure that counts. Sometimes the appreciation you get, or the people that see it. And I made it for Janta. Okay. If you've seen the film, you will see this is not really a high-end OTT kind of a film. It is more of a Janta film, and is doing extremely well, say in Patna, because I get a list from YouTube. That's the number one city, and so on and so forth. So
So then, would you like to perhaps release your next film
yeah,
in centers where you think your film, the Zora, is working well, like Heart in India, like cities like Patna and in UP? Would you
no,
do
I,
that?
I I'm not going to go with the theatrical release, my dear friend, because the single screen theaters have all been destroyed. They don't exist. Okay. and they've been closed up and they've been closed shut. Most of the theaters have become multiplexes. So even if they call it single screen, a multiplex a single screen, because say it's in Bihar and it's working like a single screen, or a UFO kind of theaters, uh, all that. So those cinemas are more tough to get. And now you may ask me why. Because when you have a big film, they want to corner those cinemas. Like, say, if there's a Shah Rukh Khan film, now he corners a Salman Khan film. There's a mass audience wants to see Salman Khan. So, first thing they will do is take the single screen audience. First thing. And there's always a battle, if you read in the papers, before the release on the single screen, not so much on the multiplex, because they are in short supply, where the ticket prices are low, popcorn prices are low, there aren't many existing, and those cinemas should be there. They should be Janta cinemas, where the ticket prices are low, tea, coffee is low, your popcorn, your eatables are low, so that a Janta can go in. Now, Janta really doesn't have a choice today. It's YouTube.
But then the important conversation for a long time, which was going in Bollywood, was high ticket prices in the
Yes,
multiplexes. What are your views about it?
high ticket prices is not a completely wrong sort of a concept. Why? I'll tell you why. Because when you go into very built up cinemas, exotic cinemas that are newly built, that are like based on American technology and style and seating, and you have all the confectionaries in there, popcorns and all that, there is a huge running cost. They're like five-star cinemas. The single screens were not five-star, they were one-star cinemas. I mean, the lavatories also, you know how they were. And we all know that, but we used to enjoy the cinema, right or wrong. We used to enjoy the film. Even if the seat is a little difficult to sit on, but you enjoy the movie. Now, if you made cinemas have all become restaurants. I asked a friend of mine the other day, do you go to the cinema? He's from LA. And he says, I love cinema. I love watching movies, but I can't watch them in India. I said, why? He said, because either everybody's on the phone, so you're disturbed, you can't concentrate on the film, or they're eating. It's a restaurant. They're coming, they're taking orders. So real cinema goers don't like that. If I really want to watch a film, you got to close the doors, make it dark, and everybody says, shut up, and you watch the film. That doesn't happen anymore. So
I
coming
think
back to your question, coming
sorry.
back to multiplexes that have become restaurants or eating places more than cinema. They're making money out of food. So you can't blame them, because how are they going to pay the rent?
But I'm saying what you're saying is right. But I'm saying all these theories became sort of invalid when Sayara released. That time, audience went in cinemas in big numbers. They had no problem with the ticket prices. They had no problem with the expensive cola and popcorn. They had no problem with anything. So, do we
Okay.
have?
Okay, I can answer that very well. Look, there are 4 or 5 films in a year that break the rule of the game, and they will do well no matter what. Those films people want to watch. What about the other 95%? I said in the beginning, 95% films don't work. I am talking about those 95% films that could work. In the olden days, everything used to work. A producer used to cover his cost. Today, if you have a loss, you can have a 30 crore loss as a producer. But obviously, the corporate houses are not going to show you the book of accounts or what loss they are incurring, or maybe it's a public funding or whatever. I don't know. All I know is producers are losing money. Now, when you talk about Sayara, of course, there are films that will do very well, and there'll be a crowd for a demand for the ticket. Now, if those prices went low, let me tell you something. Sayara's business will be 4 times. How about that? You won't agree with me? Try it. Make a film like that. Bring the price down, push it in the theaters, and you see the business. What happens even with a big hit film? On a Tuesday, you make the tickets at 99 rupees, or you want buy one free, or do this. And there are schemes everywhere. Those schemes sometimes kick in on day one, sometimes they kick in on a Monday, Tuesday, or the second week. Okay? So there are schemes. Why are those schemes? Because people aren't coming in. Now you have a 99 rupees ticket and a 500 rupees popcorn. How does that make sense? But I don't blame. I'm not against the multiplexes. I'm trying to defend them. I'm not trying to speak against them because I know for sure they are not able to pay their rent. They've got 50 people working to cover the cost of the cinema. They have to keep the eatables high, the ticket prices high. They bring the ticket prices low, understanding that they'll pay for the car park. The car park could cost you 50 rupees, it could cost you 400 rupees, depending where you're parking your car. And so everything, the film goer is suffering in the long run. They should lower things, eatables down a bit and the prices down. I personally feel they will do better. But I don't own them. I will not say anything against them. As my opinion to the viewers is this: everything should come down. The quality of the films should improve. Now, when I released my film, it was a bitter experience, very well knowing what I was heading into a very bad accident. And I was struggling with cinema. I was trying to tell them, give me one show, give me 10 shows at Bombay, but give me a evening show. I didn't get them. I mean, my film is not released. Half my actors are from Amritsar and Chandigarh. It didn't even release there. What do you want to hear?
But sir, I just want to say that your film Gupt and the song Duniya Hasinon Ka Mela have found a surprising new life in Aryan Khan's directorial debut, The Bads of Bollywood.
Yeah.
How
Yes.
did that collaboration happen? And were you involved early on, or did Shah Rukh Khan personally get in touch with you about using the song?
See, at some point he phoned me personally, and when somebody calls you personally, I'm always very giving. And sometimes people don't call you personally. The manager will call something. You don't know what's going on. So he was very kind to call me. He was very respectful, and I immediately said yes to him. It was many months back. Three or four times I must have spoken to him. I never ever created any issue or hurdle or problem, but I could see he was a bit worried because I'm a difficult guy. Okay, I don't give things that easy, and I'm very possessive about my work, and I should be. And so, but I was very happy with my dealing with Shah Rukh. I give all the credit to his son for having made a very interesting web series, and the credit to the song having run obviously goes to Shah Rukh Khan or Aryan Khan, and then to Viju Shah. Perhaps I'm third in the line, and it is well. All I can say is I'm happy they chose my song. I'm grateful for having considered me. Not that I took any money, but having considered me was some. Now when I reflect on it, and that they could have taken any song and they considered my song and pictured it there. Thank you. That's all I can say.
Did you have a chat with Aryan Khan about the show?
I never spoke to Aryan. I met him after the release on the premiere.
What did he have to say? Or Bobby, when
So
it was
Bobby sent a message to Shabir. I'm doing this. If Rajiv can consider, giving this song, and I said, yeah, obviously I will give it. And but he didn't personally call me. He didn't need to. He's not the producer of the. Why should he call? So
so,
the people who were making the film was obviously Shah Rukh Khan and Netflix. Netflix don't know me, so Shah Rukh Khan called me, and that was the end of the story. That was it. The moment he called me, the answer was yes.
but did he tell you कि कहाँ पे हम यूज कर रहे हैं, कैसे यूज कर रहे हैं?
नहीं, मेरे को ज्यादा कुछ बोला नहीं और मैंने कुछ पूछा भी नहीं because I trust him and I trusted him, but I could see the worry that the song is very important. That I could guess that this song is integrated within the storyline and they need it badly. So I did not take any advantage, emotional blackmail. I realized that, but I let it go. I figured they need it. I said yes, you got it. That's
But
it.
did they tell you कि please don't talk about it because that was the big twist?
No, he
In,
didn't. What could I have talked about it? Everybody knew my song was in there.
okay, okay. I just
Every
know whenever
everybody look, people knew the song was there, but people didn't know how it was interwoven in the story. Got it? Song hai. Bobby is an actor. There must be a flashback where they're showing something in the serial when he was young. This is what people would have thought. And I don't know if people knew or didn't know. Maybe it came out as a surprise. I'm not sure. But I didn't speak about this to anybody. They did not have any clause with me that I can't talk about it, but I didn't speak to anybody about it.
Did you have any conversation with Aryan about the song or about?
No, no, I had conversations with Shah Rukh Khan, who was the producer, and Aryan. I saw him and met him for the first time on the premiere night at the Geo Center.
I always wanted to ask you this. You made some of the most successful and defining films during the 80s and early 90s. Yudh, Tridev, Vishwatma. Yet many critics describe the 1980s as the weakest period of Hindi cinema, dominated by forgettable masala entertainers. As someone who thrived in that very landscape, do you agree with that perception? Or do you think that era is often misunderstood?
Oh, that era is misunderstood in the way that during that period, critics looked down upon the films generally. Commercial masala, Bollywood stuff with songs, and they used to singing around trees, and they used to have all kinds of things. So
And those background dancers used to appear out of
pe-
nowhere.
people, the critics, kind of sometimes made a mockery of Bollywood film internationally. The world, when they viewed Bollywood films on television or whatever in cinema, loved the color and the glamour of Bollywood
Of the
because
80s.
it was very different to their films.
I'm saying 80s Bollywood. 80s and
80s. 80s, I'm talking about 80s.
yeah. Okay.
80s was where the real flavor of Bollywood was the 80s. Before that, you're going into a black and white era, then into a silent era. So 80 was the commercial masala era. Am I right?
Yes.
And that's the time when cinema was at its peak, according to me, where we had a story, we had song, we had everything integrated into the film. And star cast, you could have a multi-starrer, you could have so much going on, and it was entertaining. And the ticket prices were very, very, very cheap, very affordable, and entertainment was very affordable. Today, it's not that affordable. So, uh, yet it's still a cheap form of entertainment even today. But back then, the cinema, I think, I personally feel that era won't come back. I feel that was the golden era of Bollywood and will remain so. And I will probably be 1% fraction of that era somewhere. That I was lucky to have made films in that era. Okay, because we had to learn so many things, how to keep the audiences on the seat. If there is a song, people would run out for a cigarette smoke. And you had to keep 3 hours everybody gripped. And if you didn't keep them gripped, in the smaller center, they'd break the seats if the film was not good. So the theater owner would complain, so many seats of mine are broken, give the bill to the distributor. And I've seen this happen.
Do you now have a logical answer why those background dancers used to appear behind hero and heroine during the song, especially in the films of 80s and 90s?
But they're still there now. Every song right now is a dance song. Those singing around the trees is gone. So every song is an item where there you see thousands of hundreds of dancers behind. Back then they were real. I mean, today the sets could be VFX or whatever, special effects or CGI. But back in those days there was no special effects, and why they were dancers? Because I think songs kind of run. One of the reasons why a song becomes popular is when you could dance to it in a club now, or you can dance in a marriage. Now, if you have a romantic song, those are for drinkers. You go to a bar and there is a Kishore Kumar sad song playing. People love that too. That's gone. Where songs have a poetic element of poetry, and the hero is unhappy about his life or whatever, and there is melancholy there. That kind of mood I think that was a fantastic mood. So when you would put in song, you would have dance numbers, and you would have romantic song, and you would have something else, maybe a situational song, maybe a party or a birthday song or something. So basically, those days, party songs with dancers was a way of attracting viewers Because when you make a trailer and you have this grandeur, of say 50 dancers or 100 dancers or 25 dancers or even 10, it is a way of attracting the masses to show them some sort of entertainment that they can relax and tap their feet or go home and sing the song. Maybe if the song becomes popular, then the country hums it, or it plays in marriages or birthday parties or whatever. So dance numbers are very popular even now, but they're not working. The music is not working. Or very little is working.
You're right, because the trend of lip sync song it is actually vanishing from Hindi cinema. If you see,
Yeah,
they have lip sync songs today. Uh, Sayara had one or two. But sir, then do you wonder why most of the actresses who were mostly who define 80s like Farah, Naaz, Kimmi Katikar, Mandakini, Sonam, Mamta Kulkarni, they really defined the 80s, but they sort of disappeared from the film scene.
they disappeared now.
Yeah.
It's an age factor, I guess, because they all
Oh,
grown up.
even by the late 90s, I mean, I don't think the today's generation know much about Farah.
So
Farah was
people
a big star.
people want a younger generation wants to see their generation. No, so I mean, if I'm making a film today, I'm going to make a girl who's 18, 19, or 20 or 21 or whatever, and so I'm not going to take a past heroine unless I need a mother role. Uh, so a lot of them disappeared because I think a lot of them got married, and when they go away from the cinema and the lights and the camera, and one day they want to come back, but if they continue and they don't leave the cinema, they'll continue getting. I mean, you look at Tabu. She continued. She never left her work. And I believe she never married. So she never had like that family and husband life to concentrate there. But most girls who tend to marry, then they have children, you have to give it a pause. You have to give it a halt. So when you pause your career, it's very difficult to get it back on track. Very difficult. Because then memories are very short. People will forget you. And then suddenly they see you after 10 years, you're much older. They can't relate to that. But if you continue acting, I believe, and my conviction is you'll continue being there. You may have like people, you may not be that much in demand in the sense that you're continuing to act and you may not get good roles, or they might sideline your role, or they may put you as a character artist or whatever, but they will you will be visible and you will continue to get work. So pausing your career is harmful for a girl. Men generally don't pause their career, so they continue. I mean,
This
i
is coming to
remember
father
i
roles.
remember Vinod Khanna paused his career at one time, but he came back. But that kind of a comeback is very rare.
I was reading this book called Hum Dono,
Yeah,
which is about Devanand and Goldie Anand.
yeah, yeah,
There's a chapter in that book dedicated to Johnny Mera Naam.
yeah,
How Devanand supported your dad, who was a distributor for Navketan.
yeah.
How often did you visit the sets of Johnny Mera Naam?
My father never used to visit any sets. Maybe he would go once in the film during the making. He was not interested in going to the set at all, because that work was not something he was doing, and that would be a waste of time for him to go there because he was not contributing anything during a shoot, and he would let it be. But on the script level, planning level, and the post level and the distribution level, obviously he would come into play. So when you're shooting is more of a manual work. And even in my shoots, I would tell him one day you need to come and say hello, and he would come and say hello. That was just a way of kind of being sort of making his presence felt that look, I'm around and I'm there to just give his blessings to everyone, I guess. So
How
and
close
but
was he
dad
to
was not
Devanand?
dad was not a shooting guy, not a man who would attend film shootings.
But how close was he to Devanand?
He was very close to Devan. I think I could say Devadan was one of his best friends, really close friends. And they went back, I think, many years from younger days. And I'm not sure whether when from Pakistan when my dad came, I knew he knew Dalip Kumar and a couple of actors like Sunil Dutt from back those days from Lahore. But I'm not sure whether he was from there, but he knew him from really since a long, long time, in maybe early 50s, he knew him.
So you of course have spent time in America and seen the evolution of cinema there. What are your thoughts about AI in the films? And there are now there have been AI films which are being made.
That is coming in. AI will come in. It's animation. It's a kind of animation. I mean, if you go back in your young days, Walt Disney, when they made cartoons, Tom and Jerry, they were animation.
But there are software like Sora and which are text to visual. This is just nascent stage, but I'm sure in times to come there will be AI character. There's already an
Yeah.
AI actor which was part of a controversy in Hollywood. Do you think this is a challenge for filmmakers or a new creative opportunity?
Look, it's a creative opportunity for sure, but it becomes a challenge for actors, also for directors, because your AI can write the script and can make the songs, and everything can happen on a computer today. So if you generate an actor on an AI that looks real, so yeah, I mean they can duplicate you right now. And I'm giving this interview, and it could be I'm talking to AI, you wouldn't know. So that is coming. It's there. And that you can't stop it. And so now you're going to say, ban this, you can't. You got to go with technology. You got to move on. And so if there is an AI actor, and tomorrow say, I mean, I'm now not that active, but if I was active in making film, and somebody said, would you make with the AI actor? Of course I would. Why would I not? And but you have to treat it more like it's more like animation. I think a real actor is a real actor. That's never going to go. I mean, if you make a film and you say they're real actors but they're AI created, I mean, I'm going to get fooled, and I'm not going to like that, because you do want to see real stuff, real person actually performing, like how you see a play. You go to see a play, but it's done by robots. So you're going to enjoy that. That's it.
Going back to 80s, there were films like Earth and Jaane Bhi To Yaro from the same decade that were critically acclaimed,
Yeah,
while yours were pure mainstream entertainers.
yeah.
Did you ever feel or tempted to merge the two worlds to bring emotional and political realism of parallel cinema into your commercial storytelling?
And you're talking about me personally? No,
Yeah.
I never felt that. But that's a wise thing to do. I mean, as a filmmaker, as a director, writer, I never had a desire to go away from my audience. And that means I'm stepping away from the audience that's expecting something. So today I made a 1 or 2 crore Zora film, right? But I haven't stepped away from my audience. A lot of people might criticize me. This is old fashioned, ye picture to purani, but people tell me that we are missing those films. So now when I make those films, then they criticize you. Why have you done that? Then they tell me, but we want to see that. So it's a catch 22. But yes, for me as a filmmaker at that era in the 80s, those were wonderful films, the ones you just mentioned. And I enjoyed them. And I used to watch all art films, whether they were even French or Spanish or German or Italian or foreign language, and Russian even, or Polish. The thing is, as when you're a cinema man, you like watching. But when it comes to making, you keep the audience in front of you. So you're very focused on, look, this is my audience. I don't want to cheat on them. Now, I may be wrong. Maybe the audience has changed. Maybe, they don't want to watch what I think they want to watch. I can get it wrong. I'm not saying that. But in those days, I was honest to my audience.
Coming to your films, and especially about Mora, it's widely reported that you never really saw anything between Akshay Kumar and Raveena Tandon, even with all the buzz and rumors. You have seen industry very closely.
Yeah.
How healthy it is for a film when its lead cast members are in a relationship, and do they end
Okay.
up spending more time on
Personally,
set together?
personally, personally, if you ask me, at my personal individual opinion, it's not healthy. When you're making a film, you should leave your private life away, and you should get into the role, or you should get into the role, and you should get into your work. Now, if you're together in real life and now you got a real life, so personally, if I take somebody onto a film and they are in a relationship, I might do it. But I personally feel that possibly when they spend time is not very healthy, because it can divert your mind from the work. It diverts your mind. So when you're working, you should have no diversion. Maybe
But then also
people won't like
same
hearing this,
no.
but that's what I feel.
So then how worrying it is for a director when the lead pay breakup mid shoot?
You see, if they break up, you're in trouble. That is another area of worry. Okay. And one area is when you're too involved and enjoying the company of each other and there's a shooting going on, you're distracted from the actual focus of the work. And then if there is some kind of a fight or a breakup or a sort of a disparity going on or an argument, obviously is going to affect the work of those actors. I don't
And
think
film also, no?
this is not a very common. People talk about this. Well, there are many instances where this has happened. There could have been, and people will say, "Oh, you're lying." No, it's not really affected the film. There are, I know of film where people are bust up during the film, and that's not very. It's not a happy situation for the producer. Sometimes the actors kind of professionally work it through. Okay, and but obviously it's an uncomfortable situation for the director. It's not a kind of, you're not very happy about it. The actors are not happy about it. The unit will also be whispering something or the other. But this is not common. This is not common.
Talking about hurting the actor, I did not know about this time when I last time spoke to you. When Sanjay Dutt was let go from Yudh due to his addiction, it must have been very upsetting for him, despite Sunil Dutt's pleas. How did you handle that situation, knowing that it would hurt the actor?
No, it was the most difficult situation I had to confront in my life. If you ask me, as a director, what was the most tricky or difficult or emotionally disturbing, it was this particular incident, which I don't talk about, because it's happened. It was not in my control. I don't think the Dutt family, it was in their control. Sanjay Dutt is a wonderful boy. He's very successful. He was always a very good actor. He was always a handsome man, and he was very talented. It was not a wise thing to do. And I knew that. I knew that. I had no choice. And I was actually, whether people want to believe this or not, I was actually trying to help him out of where he was on the ground he was standing. But probably it didn't look like that at that time, but that was my intention. And I still have a lot of respect. We have, both of us have never spoken about it. We never discussed this ever in press. We never discussed it on paper or on camera. He has never discussed it on camera. I have never discussed it on camera. I mean, he's a wonderful guy to work in, and I really miss working with him. And I actually feel very bad this happened. It is a black mark in my life. I don't blame him, because when you're stuck with a certain medical situation, you can't blame that person. And I don't blame him. If anything, I think I blame myself. And I tried my best to avoid it, but it was unavoidable. I couldn't. I don't want to really talk in detail about it. It's something in the past. Uh,
Yeah.
I take the brunt. I take the slap on my face or whatever it is. It's not something I'm very happy about.
So then, do you think producers had more power over actors uh, than compared to today? Back in the day?
They had more power.
Yeah.
Producers, I think that big producers always have power, big, and the small producers are struggling. The big producers had power then. I think the big producers today are corporate houses or big production companies. You know them, eight, 10 of them. So they have the same power, if not more. They have big power over the actor. So if you go to the actor, the first question will put to you, who's the producer? They won't even ask you the director or who's the writer. The first question on an actor's mind today, and back then too, more now, is who's the producer, who's the corporate. So if you say Aditya Chopra is the producer, or Karan Johar, or Vidhu Vinod Chopra, or uh, Raju Hirani is a director, but you see, the thing is, big directors are respected, big producers are very respected because actors know the film will be mounted, made well, and distributed well. So the confidence of the actor is more on the producer, and I hate to say this, than the script.
Do you think that is why these music companies started producing film because they had a lot of cash with them and that was what was needed back in the day? There was no corporate funding that time.
Yeah, because a lot of people turned into producers. A lot of people, music companies, whoever has money in the film business wants to produce the film. So if what you're saying is right, I don't have to expand on that. So the music companies, when they get a lot of money, they don't know what to do with it. So they say, let's make, how much music can you make? So if they have to make music, they can make music through the film. So it's a win-win situation for a music company. And why not? We need a lot of producers. We need money coming in. We need wealth coming in so that good films can be made.
You know, Diwar marked a turning point for stars like Amitabh Bachchan and writer Salim Javed. When you sit down today to watch Diwar,
Yeah.
what moment in that film gives you the greatest sense of pride or nostalgia and
No,
why?
there is, it's not one moment. You can't look, you can't see a 3 hour film and say this is the moment that did it. So in that Diwar as a particular film, I think there are 30 or 40 moments, great moments in the film that make the film. So it's not one particular moment. Obviously, most people will say there was the temple scene, of Amitabh Bachchan talking to the god, which was a great moment in the film. But there were many moments of the two brothers, with the mother, without the mother, and there were other moments. So it was a collective film. A film is always collective.
Well, with that, I just want to say thank you for taking time out.
Yeah, thank
Looking
you.
forward to part two of Zora.
Yeah, thank
What
you.
we'll do next. Thank you so much, sir, and all the best.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.